it began when I was 8 years old, which was 1977, and the first Star Wars came out. And all we knew was that it was this cool movie that everybody seemed to like. It wasn't this huge phenomenon that Star Wars is today. And so I was at the movies in Smithtown, New York, and Princess Leia's little ship came over the screen. And then this much bigger Darth Vader ship came over the screen and kept going and going and going. And by the time that ship was done passing overhead, I was just like this in the audience. And I was a Star Wars fan from that moment on and never gave it up as I got older. I always loved the movies and then reading the books and learning about this kind of amazing setting that George Lucas and then so many authors and creators had made richer. So at the same time, starting when I was a kid, I always was writing. Whether I was writing, poems or little stories or, big ambitious novels or whatever it was, I would just constantly be writing with any kind of piece of paper I could get my hands on. My mom was a professor, and she used to bring these blue square course books home for me, like big stacks that I would just fill with writings. And eventually that led me to a career in journalism. I worked for the Wall Street Journal for more than 12 years and became a professional writer that way. But I never gave up Star Wars. It was still something I loved. And I started working for the Star Wars Insider, which is a really fun magazine put out in cooperation with Lucasfilm. And I did that for years and turned in my stuff on time, and people seemed to like it. And they came to me and said, there's going to be a Clone Wars TV show. Any of you guys watch that? Yeah? Fans? All right. They said there's going to be a Clone Wars TV show, and we'd like you to do the Clone Wars visual guide, this really big book telling everything that's going to be in the movie and some of the episodes, and would you like to do that? And I said, would I like to write a Star Wars book and learn all these secrets and have fun? Yeah, I would like to do that. That would be pretty great. So that was the Clone Wars visual guide. This is the second one in that series, actually. And that led to more work and more things, including some recent books I've done, the Phantom Menace, the Expanded Visual Dictionary. This was a book that I bought as a fan in 1999 when Episode 1 came out by David West Reynolds. And there's one right there. It's a terrific book full of great information. And when the 3D release came out, they said, we're going to update this book, and would you like to do that? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And it's not just a new cover on an old book. There's a lot of new information in there, a lot of new spreads, including things like these really talented prop makers made this cutaway view of Darth Maul's double lightsaber, which was really fun because I got to. You have that one? Because I got to consult with them. They were like, well, what would it look like on the inside? And I was like, well, let's think about that. The other thing we did is we looked at all the information in that book that the previous author had done, and we updated it. David West Reynolds did a wonderful job, but there was stuff he just couldn't know without the other two movies. So we looked at that information to figure out what new information do we have, what new context do we have. So it was, kind of a partnership over more than a decade between two authors working side by side. So that one was a lot of fun to do. Another recent one is The Secret Life of Droids. What are droids doing? Well, they're working hard and saving the galaxy. Really, really awesome subtitle someone at DK did. This book is a lot of fun. It's for younger kids. It's you get all sorts of cool information about various types of droids, as well as answering questions. How are droids made? This one was a lot of fun to do, and also has some great artwork besides photos from my friends Chris Trevis and Chris Wright, who we call the Chris Army. It's a joke some of you who are music fans might get. And another new one. It's not a DK book. It's actually from Del Rey. I do write books for older fans too. This is the Essential Guide to Warfare, which looks at the history of the galaxy through its wars, its technology, its warships, its armies, things like that. Co-written with my friend Paul Urquhart. Also a lot of fun to do for a somewhat different audience. One interesting thing I'll tell you about working with DK and doing these books is, like, when these books get to me, what they typically are is they're a really, really huge file on my computer. And then these words will actually be, they'll be kind of like Latin, like this kind of crazy nonsense Latin that doesn't really make any sense. And it's kind of amazing to look at, and you're like, okay. And then my job will be to take those words and turn them into real words and tell the story of what's going on in this page or organize the information. And then I send that stuff back to DK, and their artists and designers put the whole book together. But the lesson in that is, I get to have my name, I get to have my name on the cover, which is a huge, huge honor. But, the writer is really just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many talented artists, designers, product people, everyone else who work on a book. That it's really a huge team effort. And so it's a little unfair that the writer gets his or her name on the cover, but there's so many people needed to make a book into what you wind up getting in the store and holding in your hands. So it's another reason I love DK is they're all super nice people, and they're really, really fun to work with. And we've put what I hope are a lot of great books together, and hopefully a lot more. So that's a little bit about me. We can do questions in a bit, but are you guys up for some trivia? You up for it? You willing to give it a try? All right. So, one rule for trivia, okay? If you think you know the answer, put your hand up. Don't call it out. We don't want the stormtroopers coming in here to enforce discipline. So don't worry, the stormtroopers are on our side. They're very nice. But don't call it out, okay? And we'll give everybody a chance, all right? All right, you ready? All right, we're going to start off with some easy ones, okay? This Jedi Knight trained Obi-Wan Kenobi and fell in battle with Darth Maul. You got it? Qui-Gon Jinn, is she right? Yeah, good job. Come on, give her a round of applause. All right. Appreciate it. Every author needs helpers for questions. So, but most others don't get helpers quite this cool or from quite so far away. So thank you for coming to help. So in addition to me, I can obviously answer questions about being. Boba Fett is a bounty hunter. You are right. We don't have any bounty hunters here today, but Boba Fett is an extremely cool character. Good point. Anybody else? Any questions? For me or the guys? Yeah.
When you're compiling the information for these books, how do you make sure that you keep your facts straight?
That's a great question. It's a great question because also I have made some mistakes, and you read about it really, really quick.
Yeah. We found some in various things that he'll go, that's not what happened. And
Star Wars fans know their stuff. So yeah, that's well, I mean, one reason I've done so many books is I do have a pretty good knowledge of the Star Wars galaxy. I mean, I've literally every book, and the only place I'm a little shaky knowledge-wise is the video games, which I'm not a big player of. But the answer is that you have lots of help. Is the folks, a guy named Leland Chee, a friend of mine, is the head of continuity for Lucasfilm, and he just knows. He has forgotten more about Star Wars than I probably know. And, Leland and other folks at Lucasfilm are always there to help you out and, to try to catch any mistakes, or also when you're thinking of new information, they'll kind of look that over and talk that over and decide if that makes sense. So, between those things, I think we do pretty well. But occasionally one slips through, and sometimes a mistake is just a mistake. Sometimes a mistake is that we can look at that and figure out, okay, how can we tell a story around that to make a bigger story? So that's kind of fun to do. Great question. Thank you. Anybody else? Questions? Anybody? Okay. Well, feel free, come if you think of anything later. Feel free to ask me at any point. I'd be happy to answer them too. And thank you guys so much for coming out. It's a great honor to get to write Star Wars books, and I think I have the best job in the world. But it's really a privilege to get to talk to you guys. And thank you so much for coming out and seeing me. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you.